allow me to set up the context. My daughter and myself are detailing this 2011 M-Class Mercedes. Now these Mercedes come with a stock OE, which stands for Original Equipment Side Steps. I don't know actually what they're called. We have two problems going on here. We've got the degrading of the stock black trim, which I will address in a moment. But more importantly, what I want to do is tell you a solution that I just figured out on how to clean these running boards. And I've had to deal with these for years and years, ever since these Mercedes came out. Now what you need to understand is that this metal is aluminum, as far as I can tell, because it chemically reacts to certain chemicals, like acids, as in the wheel cleaner. So that tells me two things. One, it's probably aluminum for lightweight, and secondly, it's not coated, as in a clear coat, or it would not react to the chemical. So my goal is to, how do I clean around these rubberized nibs? That's what they are, is rubber. And it collects all these deposits. It's kind of like mineral deposits around your sink faucet at home, called hard water deposits. So understanding basic chemistry, that led me down the rabbit hole to find a solution. And all it requires is one product and two tools. Now, underneath the description of this video or the show more box, I will have a very specific link so you can get these products. The product itself, and pay no attention to the bottle. That is a misrepresentation, because the product in the bottle is called Speedy Bright, and I believe it is by Nanoskin. I could be wrong because I've been carrying it with me for so long, but I will verify that, and whatever link is underneath this, that's how you can get yours. And I dilute it down according to the manufacturer instructions. I don't know how many times someone writes in and says, hey Darren, do you dilute it or do you use it straight? It's like, well, if I don't call it out, just default to what the bottle says. That is my simple answer. So this, I default to what the bottle says, and I think it's 4-to-1. Point is I know, and for example, this is a wheel cleaner. It's what's called an organic-based wheel cleaner. I don't even know what that means, organic versus a traditional acidic-based wheel cleaner. But this is an organic acid-based wheel cleaner. It will dissolve chemical or mineral deposit. So I've already tried my Meguiar Super Degreaser on this, which is an alkaline-based cleaner. It cleaned it, but very ineffective as far as breaking down the calcium or the mineral deposits. That's why I reached for this. I also reached for this because it's also safe on glass, unlike my Meguiar's Super Wheel Brightener, or it's not called Super, it's just called Wheel Brightener. So spray, as soon as I get my sprayer to work. Now this brush, I highly recommend. This is, to me, one of my requirements as far as a detailer. I use it on the inside mostly, but because it's so stiff, you have to be careful and selective as to far as the battles you decide to take on with it. Now, I've already done the whole other side, so I know it's safe. And as I do, and as I instruct you guys to do, is you always test in an inconspicuous area. So I tested it first, checked my results, and then proceeded forward. Now, as I scrub this, what it does is it gets around those rubberized nibs. And I know this, even though acid, everyone goes into freak out mode, it is not going to hurt most things. It's a chemical. You have to understand basic chemistry. For example, this is contained in a plastic bottle. Plastic, if this was like acetone or some other caustic chemical, it would eventually break this plastic down and do damage to it. It does no damage to this plastic, therefore I know it does not chemically react to the plastic. So, but what it will do is it will chemically react to the mineral deposits that are surrounding each of these rubberized nibs. My guess is, from experience, that this brush sounds very disturbing to you in audience land, and you think, oh my gosh, Darren's got to be scratching the hell out of that running board. Well, the simple answer is no, I'm not, because once again, I've already checked my results. and I know that it's not, which actually doesn't even make sense to me. I kind of thought that it would, and that's where I would have to accept trade-offs. But check out how clean, not only how clean the metal is, because it's bare aluminum, so the chemical is cleaning it or etching it and pulling the dirt out of it. As you can see all the dirt here. So this is the kind of it's not a very sharp line of demarcation, but this is the line of demarcation. We have before, we have after. But more specifically, if you look at the buildup, like Haley, see if you can zoom in. You see the buildup around these nibs? It's a black, grungy, mineral deposit buildup that will not be cleaned under normal conditions with normal cleaners. But notice how sharp and precise. Now we have the metal and we have the specific nib. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm going to call perfection. Now the second issue, if you look under here, we have black trim that is degraded. So what happens is, in mass-produced plastic trim pieces, they're filled with all kinds of additives and impurities. So any of your true black trim restoration products, even though they call it a permanent fix, it is what I call, or tell my customers, a semi-permanent, meaning you're constantly going to be fighting the battle of these impurities leaching out and oxidizing out to the surface. So by semi-permanent, to me, that's anywhere from 6 months to a year. So I'm going to clean this first. I'm going to pre-clean this. Then I'm going to treat it with solution finish. And then I'm going to bring you back in and show you the after and just show them the after and the before, because this is such a notorious problem on these M-Class Mercedes, and it drives me insane. I've never been able to figure out a true solution or a way to produce this level of results. Okay, I've cleaned the running board. Now it's time to treat the black plastic trim. I've got my solution finish. Hi, Chris West. Thank you, awesome product. So really, it's so simple. And this stuff goes a very long way. This is the content and this is your applicator. It's that basic. I shake it vigorously. Now, this is when I'm training any new guy, this represents like just extreme trepidation on my part, because inevitably a person is going to become hyper focused on applying the trim. They're going to forget about this big bottle of essentially black dye, and it's going to spill. That is my huge concern. So you've got to figure out how to manage it into your world. For me, one of the tricks I use is once I put a little on my applicator pad, I will put the bottle someplace that I know cannot be spilled, tripped, hit, knocked, banged, whatever. And then I simply go over the black trim like this. Now if it gets on the paint, it's a non-issue. It's not going to stain the clear coat. It's not going to stain your paint. Now with that said, is if it was single stage paint, like let's say you had some old car, which probably wouldn't have any black trim on it anyways, like this newer, updated, cheap, mass-produced black trim. But who knows? I just know it's not going to stain really any hard surface. It's traditionally meant for porous, typically textured black trim pieces. Now you can try it on virtually any black trim piece you want, and I've tried it on endless types of black trim pieces, whether it's textured or smooth, and it's a case by case as to the results you're going to get, because unlike, let's say, a cheap traditional product like Armor All, it's not saturated or filled with any kind of silicones that are going to literally lay on top of the surface. It's actually going to penetrate in. Think of it, I like to think of it as literally a dye for the material. But if the dye can't get into the material, it's only going to do so much. So that's where the, I don't know, what's the word, porosity, the porous material, how porous it either is or is not, will determine really ultimately the results you're going to get. So it is ideal for these types of materials. So we have the before, and you'll see kind of a pattern here, and this is what's called tiger stripes. And then here you have this nice uniformed pattern. So I'm going to treat this whole area, and then what I do at the end is I simply come in with my microfiber and I wipe off the residue or excess whatever. You can see there's very little on this cloth. Already it has penetrated and soaked in that quickly. So once again, you'll find these links below the video and check it out. And now you know my trick for Mercedes ML running board. And here we have our completed project. Come in for a close-up. So when you're applying the trim restoration product, if you happen to get it on this piece, it will leave a slight, I don't know, residue, let's call it that. You simply use some all-purpose cleaner and wipe down the running board after the fact, and it really is just a non-issue. That's when you're applying the actual solution finish. So here is our completed running board and trim restoration from this Mercedes. I don't know, this is an ML something. Let's see, 350. And here is a shot in the direct sunlight, which is going to get all kinds of reflections. So don't go all wiggy on me and scrutinize to the point of absurdity. This thing is so clean. Customer's gonna wet himself when he sees his running boards that are clean and the black trim that has been restored.